Hey friends, it's Steph from cheapskatecook.com, and we're going to talk about making bread at home when you don't have yeast, you can't find any bread at the grocery store, or you just don't have time, or whatever. We're going to make some bread that doesn't require any kneading, any rising, and I'm not even kidding. You can also make it with all white flour or with whole wheat flour. So whatever you have on hand. If you have like no time, no yeast, blood, whatever, you can make some bread anyway, okay? And that is because we are going to make what's called Irish soda bread. So this is a throwback to my Irish heritage, and they're really smart people and very ingenious, and they figured out how to make bread without actually needing to rise it or knead it or have any yeast on hand. Now it's going to taste a little bit different than your classic squishy, nice yeasty bread. But it's bread. You can toast it, you can have it with soup, you can make like cheese toast, you can make grilled cheese with it, whatever makes you happy. Once you make it and you try it, it takes like 10 minutes to put together, and then you bake it, and then you decide what you want to do with it. But the fact is you have bread, so you can feed the kids something and they're going to be happy about it. So I'm going to show you how we make it. We use a combination of wheat flour and white flour because this bread does not rise at all, and so if you use all whole wheat, it's going to be just a lot thicker and more crumbly. You can totally still do that if that's all you have, or if it's really important that you use all whole wheat, like that's one of your goals. You can do that. It's going to be fine. But we use a combination of whole wheat and white flour. So we're going to do 6 cups of the whole wheat, and don't let me miscount. So I think that's 2 cups. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, close enough. If you want to be super accurate, you can use a scale, but I'm going to just show you that it's okay if it's not super accurate, okay? And then we're going to do 4 cups of white flour. So 1, this is a half measuring cup, that's why I'm counting extra. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm adding a little bit extra because there wasn't quite half a cup at the tail end of that whole wheat flour. Alright, so that's 10 cups total, and we're going to give it a good, just a light stir, and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of baking soda. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Also, I would love to hear where you're watching from. Where in the world are you watching from? And are you stuck at home like I am? 1, 2, this is a half measuring cup, so 3, 4. So that's 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And then we're going to do 2 teaspoons of salt. 1, 2, 3, 4. So far we have used flour, a combination of wheat and white flour, mostly wheat, a little bit of white flour, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda and 2 teaspoons of salt. So 10 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons baking soda, 2 teaspoons salt. Fairly easy trick. Let me double check the recipe. Alright, so I'm going to stir this all together. As you can see, this makes a pretty big loaf. It makes quite a bit of stuff. It's going to make a pretty, quite a bit of bread. But that's a good thing, because I don't know about you, but my kids can eat through some bread. So we'll have some now. It tastes best when it's fresh, but we'll also use some for toast, maybe tomorrow morning for breakfast, or for later in the day, or for the 50th snack that they've asked for today. So I just want to make sure that the salt and the soda are evenly mixed in there. You can half this recipe too if you want. If you just want to have like some fresh bread for your soup or something like that, and you don't, or if you're afraid that you don't have a bowl big enough, just half the recipe. And then it's just 5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 1 teaspoon salt. All right, that's stirred up. Now, traditionally Irish soda bread calls for like buttermilk. I don't have any buttermilk, so instead I'm going to use some yogurt, and I'm going to thin it with some water. You can thin it with milk if you prefer kind of, you know, like a richer, fattier flavor. You can also, if you don't have yogurt or buttermilk, you can use the special trick where you just take milk and you add like a teaspoon of lemon juice or vinegar for every 1 cup of milk, stir it together, and then let it sit for between 5 and 15 minutes. And the acid in the lemon juice and the vinegar will react with the milk, and it'll create like an acidic thing. That's what you want. You want some kind of acidic liquid. You're going to get the best results if you actually use buttermilk, and you're just going to get different results if you use the lemon juice and milk mixture, if you use yogurt and water, yogurt and milk. You know, like one's not specifically better than the other, they're just a little bit different, and it's just using what you have. So that helps us save money and eat healthy and stay sane in the process. So we need 3.5 cups of liquid. So I'm going to do like two-ish cups of yogurt, because my yogurt isn't, it's good thickness, but it's not super thick. So, and then I'm gonna do the rest of it all the way up to 3.5 cups with just water, okay? And I actually used too much water, so I'm just gonna take some off the top like that and check it again. Perfect. So now I'm just gonna pour it in, and it's okay that it's not all mixed together because I'm about to mix it all together, okay? So that's 3.5 cups of some kind of acidic liquid. You can use yogurt, you can use sour cream, you can use creme fraiche if you have some of that. You can use milk and lemon juice, and it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, every substitution that you make is going to make something different in the end result, but you can use any kind of vinegar that you have. You can use white vinegar, apple cider vinegar. You can use like rice vinegar if that's all that I had. It's okay. And the good thing about this is that the yogurt makes this bread recipe like just feel very rich and creamy and delicious. So it's going to take a little bit for me to stir it all together. If I had like a speed up thing, then I totally could speed this up. You could probably mix this in like a KitchenAid mixer or whatever, but I just wanted to show you that you can just do this at home with a bowl and a spoon if you want. Even if my like big bowl is dirty, I've even mixed this bread like in a large plastic Tupperware container or a large soup pot. So you can just use whatever you have on hand and it's going to work. All right, you can see that it's getting pretty thick, and you don't have to knead this recipe or let it rise, but you do need to kind of turn it out onto a floured surface and just make sure that it's all an even consistency. So you can see it's kind of hard to stir with a spoon, but I'm going to put some flour on my counter so that I don't make a big mess getting it stuck to my counter. Spread it out a little bit and then just plop it on there. And so you can see there's still some flour in the bottom of the bowl that I'm just trying to mix in. The thing, you might be tempted to use more flour or more liquid if you see that it's getting too thick, and so you're like, oh, maybe I should add a little bit more. liquid to it, or if it's starting to stick to the counter, maybe I should add more flour. Just be patient, because you want to mix it evenly. So some parts of the dough are going to be wetter than others, and some parts are going to be drier than others, until you get it all mixed together. And this shouldn't take too long. Like, it should take less than a minute of you kind of pushing it around on the counter to get it to hold its shape. Okay, so holding its shape. It's just a big floppy loaf right now. So I'm going to let it sit right there, and then I'm going to grease my pan. I already preheated the oven to 450 degrees, and we're going to preheat the oven to that super high temperature, but it's not going to bake the whole time at 450 degrees. In a couple of minutes, after it's kind of developed an initial like good thick crust, then I'm going to decrease the temperature and let it finish baking that way. The main thing that I'm looking here for the shape of the bread is that it doesn't have any cracks. So you might have seen when I like flipped it on its side just a second ago, there was a big old crack right across the top, and I didn't want that on the top of the bread. That's just it's gonna turn into like a big crater while it's baking, and it's just gonna be harder to deal with. So we have a nice loaf. We've got a greased cookie sheet. I'm just gonna pat it out into a little circle, and I'm gonna double check the recipe for you. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to pat it down until it's about 2 inches high, okay? Which seems a little low, but it's going to rise in the oven. So it's not going to be like this big flat loaf. All right, that's about it. And then I'm going to cut it, just whatever knife I have on hand. Did that make you nervous when I almost cut my face off? I have a habit of doing that. All right, I'm going to cut it into a nice little cross on the top of it, and that's just going to make it look pretty. It's also going to kind of give a place for the steam to escape while it is baking, so kind of serves 2 purposes. And then I'm going to bake it in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes at 450 degrees. Let me just double check. Yeah. Okay. So that's the bread. Bake it for 15 to 20 minutes at 450 degrees, and then I'm going to lower the temperature to, I obviously don't have this recipe memorized, lower it to 400 degrees and let it bake for another 20 to 25 minutes, just until it seems done. And generally, with bread, if you can like take it out to check on it, you knock your knuckles on it, and if it sounds hollow, like if you're knocking on a hollow door, that's when it's done. And it can be kind of tricky, you know, you can kind of second guess yourself, but in my experience, slightly overbaked bread is easier to deal with than totally underbaked bread. So with underbaked bread, you can still do plenty of things with it. You can make it into French toast. You can make it into croutons. You can make it into like French toast casserole. We actually have a recipe on our site called cinnamon roll French toast casserole that came from bread that was underbaked, and I didn't want to actually like eat it, but we needed to eat it because I didn't want to waste it, right? With overbaked bread, you can just toast it, so it's like we got halfway there, let's just finish the process and eat it as toast. But the good news is this is really inexpensive, it's really easy to make, and if you mess it up, it's no big deal. You're still going to have bread, it's still going to be delicious, and it's really hard to mess this up, so you will be fine, okay? I'm going to pop this in the oven. Alright, my timer is set for 15 minutes, and I'm going to check on it, and if it seems like it might need another 20 minutes or another 5 minutes, then I'll pop it in there. I hope that this helps you. I hope this gives you an idea. I will post the recipe in the link in the description at the replay, so you can check the replay and get the recipe if you want to go back to it. But real quick, if you wanted to try it right now, remember, 10 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 2 teaspoons of salt, and then 3.5 cups of some kind of acidic liquid, whatever you can find with what you have at the kitchen, in the kitchen. And then 450 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes, then pop it down to 400 degrees for another 20 minutes, and you're looking for it to sound hollow. Okay, I will share the written instructions in the replay, but I hope that this encourages you, and I hope it gives you some ways to cook in your kitchen, maybe eat a little healthier while we are all stuck at home and trying to make the most of what we have. And thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll hang out there throughout the day and check on them, okay? Thanks. Bye.